Water is the softest and most yielding substance, yet nothing is better than water for overcoming the hard and rigid, because nothing can compete with it. Lao Tzu.
Name straight, new wave. Name straight, new wave. Name straight, new wave. Name straight, new wave. Name straight, new wave.
esports, trying to find an angle they can, trying to find somebody out of position.
We're gonna go through on this. Oh, what a roll. We're gonna take black. See White gonna go in.
It's going to be a really, really interesting one.
Oh my god. All of this competition could be so damn close, so I cannot wait for us to finally decide who's going to be the champion. We are expecting some chaos, some great moments.
Beast Mode has killed 3. Only gonna really need that Rampage, so it's gonna clear it out. Sage gonna get themselves a big old 4K. Oh, Fancy's getting rid of 3, clearing out the house.
That is crazy.
Nunji actually kills 3 people.
This team feels entirely different on this faster composition. Now Saga 4 is hanging around, getting out of the high ground. Post bomb's gonna stick on the Leaky. They're not gonna be able to survive it at the end of the day. Manages to find a 3K.
Rio shoving this Ana into a corner. Woo! One more for the road for Rio.
That is all signs go. Melophobia with 3 Melophobia. Start the fight. They'll end the fight. Oh my god. Beagle Bus, they have to play aggressively into this energy. Popping off in a moment where you needed just that. Ruby in that backline. Oh, the flick. Looking for it. Oh my goodness. The 4th one as well. Do they get the ace? They get the ace.
Hello everyone and welcome to CGL Season 15 EU Grandmaster Grand Finals. We're in the end game now. EMC Kinaidos up against Bliss Excelsior. It's D-Lo here to bring you the action right alongside my buddy Thorio Mea. And we have our friends on Prod. Can't forget them. Headrammer, Cry, Orange, and Skylar all making sure to keep that cam steady. Thor, how we feeling?
We're feeling very good and looking forward to this banger of a matchup between these two teams, right? None of them were the first seeds entering into this bracket, so this is looking like it is a competition of upsets with crazy storylines just going all about. But before we can head into the action, we do have at least another, tournament happening soon, at least in the South American region with Copa America, which is happening on May 16th. So there'll be 4 teams playing against each other, and the nice thing, or at least the great thing about this production is that it's going to be broadcasted in 3 languages, right? English, Portuguese, and Spanish. So just a lot of talent just showing up on that day.
Dale mi gente de LATAM, si quieres juntarte solo para la broadcast para ver alguno castellano en español o portugués, debes juntarte también a la Copa America. That's gonna be awesome. I love to see some multilingual casting action here. So keep in mind, this day is not only gonna be a big one in CGL and Overwatch 2 history, still plenty more competitions to come. But speaking of, we're actually going to be coming at you shortly to show the path that these 2 teams here have taken to get to where we see now that big podium. I mean, look at how many we've got up just today. And I know you're going to be casting one of those matches too, Thor. Any names stand out to you?
I mean, you're looking at one that Cuddle Puddle versus Death Blossom game later in the North America region, right? Those 2 teams were not expected to be in the winners finals, right? They basically beaten the 2 top seeds in order to get to that winners finals. So honestly, that's going to look like a pretty solid game, also alongside with that True Bill Nation versus Celestial Knights. But before we can even talk about these, or at least look forward to these, we have to get through today's match, because today's match is what's going to be a banger. This is a grand finals match at the end of the day between EMC Kinaidos and Bliss Excelsior.
And that means it's going to be first to 4. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Keep your stamina. It's going to be a war of attrition. Now look at the pathways that each of these 2 teams have taken to get up here. Kinaidos actually sending our friends on Bliss Excelsior down to the losers bracket, where they had quite the tough time taking down Fracture, nearly falling in a best of 5, going all the way to 5. Whereas EMC Kinaidos were able to sweep them aside so briefly before. We just gotta hope that Bliss have brought something new to the table.
Yep, and I think if you've at least played against a team like EMC during that winners finals, you have material to work with, and you've also had material to work with playing against DYS Fracture. So there's a lot of areas where they could have learned more about how they would want to run their compositions and their play styles. So really nothing should be left on the table in this matchup.
You got to put it all on the table. All the chips in the center. We're not bluffing. We're not folding. We are confronting. But Kinaidos have really very little reason to feel afraid. I mean, you look at their route through here. It's been 3-0 sweeps the entire time. They're eating from silver spoons. They have got caviar on their plates. And in my mind, what it comes down to is a battle of momentum. If Bliss are able to take one map off of our friends on Kinaidos, then maybe that creeping dread starts to set in. Maybe we can throw off these rich kids, the big bad bullies, a bit off kilter.
Exactly, but before that, the first map really to start all of that out for this Bliss Excelsior team is Lijiang Tower, because that is the map that I think EMC Kinaidos have decided to first bring us into. And really just Lijiang Tower is such a quintessential control map. Everyone's had practice in it. It's pretty much like the bread and butter of control maps at the end of the day. So there's always, pretty much set compositions running into it. But you'll always run into maybe some teams who want to be interesting, mix things up a bit, because it's one map where everyone knows what's normally played. Why not mix things up?
I always like to see people go off the beaten path, personally, myself. I watched a Lijiang map last day that just went to ditto after ditto after ditto. Felt like we were playing Pokemon and not Overwatch. So, me personally, as we hop into these hero bans, I'm looking to see something a bit atypical. Try to ban away that Tracer, ban away the Winston, something that we just keep on seeing, and maybe force us to think of some new recipes.
I mean, if we're thinking about new recipes, stuff that's normally quintessential to Lijiang Tower has been something like a brawler kind of setup. So you'll always wonder where you have a Lucio or something with speed, some opting to kind of switch things up with a Juno. So I wouldn't be surprised if one of those two support characters end up being banned. But as I'm already saying it, EMC Kinaidos have already picked out that Juno, opting to use their first ban of the day on this Martian spectacle.
Just as you call it out, we see it before us on the screen. Juno banned away, so okay, maybe we are starting to see the fact that our friends at Kinaidos are trying to maybe get a bit more jiggy with it, trying to get a bit more atypical and unorthodox. Bliss Excelsior on their side. The question is, if you're the underdog, I guess, do you want to be trying to play this one by the book, or are you getting experimental early? Are you trying to rely maybe more on comfort picks rather than what the meta dictates? It's an interesting question that we're going to have to wait to find out. Any guesses you want to put down for the books in terms of what BX is banning away?
I think if you've banned out this kind of Juno character and support, you're already expecting a speedier composition that involves a Lucio. So you'd want to potentially ban a tank that, works really well with a Lucio to force maybe EMC on a difficult kind of setup. And as we're already saying that, they have banned this Orisa. So that means less of that quicker mobility with an Orisa, if that's what they're expecting from EMC Kinaidos to run out with on Lijiang. So that kind of turns at least the options of tanks to something a bit more expected, maybe something like a Ramatra or a Junker Queen for the more enthusiastic type, or maybe a Winston back at the end of the day. Really, a lot of variations because it is Lijiang Tower. But before we can even get into this matchup, let's take a look at the lineups of these two teams. First off, we have the lineup of EMC Kinaidos with Alex and Fifi running that DPS line, Connor Maman on the tank line, and Nuke and Chili wrapping up that. Wait a minute, why do I have 3 DPS?
Huh. I don't think think we might have. Maybe we're interesting. We're doing custom games. Is that what this deal is? We're doing custom game modes now.
Our support player for apparently that
I'm tired of supporting.
A different kind of supporting. Yeah. DPS supporting is what we're what we're seeing here. But
no roll queue.
One way or another, that is the lineup of EMC Kinaidos. There we go. Nuke and Chili finally wrapping up that support line.
Maybe they were just arguing about it. They're like, no, I don't want to be DPS today. You be support. No, you be support. And then just finally, it's quite literally that I'm not going to play Mercy. I'm not going to play any kind of support. Unfortunately, Nuke kind of got bullied back into this Yada role as we see Bliss Excelsior, the underdogs, right, trying to step up, the dark horse in this race. Someone earlier today said that they should feel lucky to even have graced the platform of these grand finals, but I'm sure they're looking for the whole enchilada. They want to get far more than second place. A silver medal will not be enough for them as we see them all step up. And again, you just gotta hope that they firmly take this first round with a lot of aggression. You cannot play it safe. You cannot play it scared.
Exactly, and I think if you're Bliss Excelsior, you're walking into this as that underdog, right? You barely got into, I guess, this playoffs bracket, placing yourselves at that 4th place, but hey, you managed to get in, beating what was the first seed. So if there's one thing that Bliss Excelsior has for them is the fact that they've done well, but we shall now at least enter onto this first map of Lijiang Tower, where I think the teams are already getting set up.
Lijiang's so interesting. You talked about the fact that everyone knows the deal here, right? Floating lily pads underneath the cyber sky, big tower. We all know the business. We all know the deal. So that oftentimes can make it a case where it's not necessarily who runs the best execution of a composition. It's just, do you know the choke points a bit better? Do you know and understand where the fights should be best placed with your character? Sometimes it's all it comes down to. Look at these scenic vistas provided by Hippie and the rest of the production crew. Appreciate it, our friends, as we now hippity hop in the match and get to find out what are the compositions being drafted. I, again, personally am hoping for something a bit atypical, and indeed it's going to be Winston v. Hazard. Now, that's not what I was expecting.
I mean, a Winston v. Hazard composition when your first map is Gardens is not too much of a surprise, right? They are, I think, two characters who could semi-brawl it out, but are also semi-dive. So in this kind of map, if you don't want to full commit to a dive, they're good characters to play with. But what's interesting is Bliss Excelsior are running out with a Junkrat, which I think is bonkers for a map like Gardens, for the sole reason there's not really much choke points, so you're relying on your Junkrat to just get immense value through hitting things.
I guess you're just hoping that you can try to break the sight line. You can do a lot of damage through the windows slots without actually to be present part of the fight. Nuke, though, already starting to make sure their presence is known. Going to take down each. First kill on the side of EMC Kinaidos. This far is going to be a real thorn in their side, too. Without having severe hit scans, aside from that Sojourn railgun, going to be pretty hard to knock her out of the sky.
Yep, and the thing with the Sojourn is that the Sojourn has to then be kind of pressured on whether they want to focus on the Pharah or focus on the counter Sojourn on the opposite side. So you're hoping that Carlos on his Junkrat just instantly melts this Monkey, and the thing is the Monkey is playing so safe.
Yeah, good take of the point from Bliss Excelsior. Going, unfortunately, have it taken away from them by EMC Kinaidos as they continue to move on forward. Lab gets absolutely washed. Carlos down, Nepu as well. As Bliss Excelsior, unfortunately, the underdogs getting beaten down like the namesake would imply. Tark gets harked by Alex, and Nuke finishes off the Lucio one more time.
And just looking at the ultimates to work with, EMC already very close to that overclock along with the rush and the barrage. And, you know, Fifi's just building up that charge so quickly. They're going to have it when Bliss Excelsior decide to push at a different angle, but Bliss Excelsior already seeing what they're running and what their struggles are have made the necessary swaps. The DPS and the tank all completely different as the Mauga charged in.
Unfortunately, you lose a lot of your ult percentage in that case. Nano could change things. Unfortunately, the fire barrage. Fifi gonna wipe them out in a series of Hellfire shots, and Alex gonna fall as well. It's a good trade there from Carlos. Doesn't matter though, it's an amazing boop that takes down Larv, robs all the wind out of their sails, takes down the turret as well. Like you said, we're seeing adjustments here, trying to respond to Fifi's aggression and wanton violence. But it's going to be enough is the question, 70%.
And I think EMC lost that Sojourn ultimate actually pretty early on, so they only have this rush to deal with this immense push with that nano from Tark. So they're going to have to commit this nano to create some level of opening, and they either commit it to that Mauga or to that Cassidy.
As we see them push forward, Larv take the first kill on a Fifi. The hit scans are hit scanning. Without the Pharah, it's going to be pretty easy to try to wipe out. At the very least, grab the point for yourself. Disruptor not going to disrupt too much. Tark just tiptoes around it. Turret does go down. Carlos booped off right after. Here comes the Kitsune Rush alongside the Nano on the back of Colt Cassidy. Nuke gets shot down, though. That does mean Bliss Excelsior have got the lead on it, but Fifi's back in action. Will be trying to cage the bird. Shilly falls too. Neptune stuffs them down. Still holding on for dear life. 99% already reached, so EMC Kinaidos, even if they can't claim the victory just yet, they've done their job of stalling things out, but they might still be able to do so. Larv gets taken out by Fifi high in the sky. Each goes down by Connorman's paws. There's only one member left, and Bliss Excelsior to stand strong.
Yep, and this is a crazy fight that turns in the favor of EMC, and honestly, that looked like that should have went on to the way of Bliss, but I think there's this level of aggression of just wanting to really get that Pharah out before they could just recharge in health and poke damage in. So maybe that slight overextension by everyone else from Bliss Excelsior kind of bit them in the butt. They really should have just stacked onto point just a bit and played their HP pools from there. But on the side of EMC, that's just great job from them, really just capitalizing on these overextensions and getting value with them.
I mean, we just see in the replay right here, Nepu goes in with the stomp, tries to get the cardiac overdrive on top of the Winston. Winston, of course, just jetpacks away. Not too big of an issue. The fight seems separated. The focus fire didn't quite seem cohesive enough from Bliss Excelsior to get picks fast enough. Bodies were just not dropping at the rate you want. That means EMC Kinaidos were able to wait for Fifi to respawn, get back to the objective, and start raining down Hellfire once again. We're sticking with the same comp, save for Nepu, goes back to the hazard. Hopefully they can have better luck this time.
Yep, and already picks turning around in the way of EMC, but you already see the difference in composition. EMC switching off of that Winston's playing that Junker Queen instead, and I think that's a good idea to have when you're deciding to play a point like, oh my gosh, I am being blanked on what this Night Market. So I think this is a good trade, but I think they have to make sure to play in close sight, in close natural cover, just for the sole reason there's so much poke damage that can come in from this turret from Carlos.
See, Nepu's trying to do the exact same thing, just dodging, dipping, diving, and dodging once again around this point to ensure their own safety, using that spike shield to just kind of get a bit of poke damage on top. Larm, heat-seeking missile there for Fifi, managed to take them down, has to roll back to safety as Junker Queen tries to step up and get vengeance for their fallen comrade. Around the corner, this Cole Cassidy's been an important playmaker. That means you gotta keep him nice and sustained up. Clearly a target on their back as well, and a swift stroke of the axe, they will fall.
Yep, Fifi just landing the shots from behind, not the support line of Bliss Excelsior, not expecting any of this, and that should be a clean fight that turns in the favor of EMC. So even though Bliss manages to get 10% on the board, they're definitely struggling to deal with this Pharah who's just in the sky, managing to just rotate so quickly and do damages from behind. Bliss Excelsior though building up towards ultimates, but it's EMC with a Kiriko Rush to work with, and they might just use it to just keep this point alive and in their favor.
I mean, Thor, it's the exact same problem you mentioned before. Yeah, we got Larv on this Cole Cassidy, who can theoretically deal with the Pharah, but how do I deal with the rest of the team, though, too? They've been doing such a great job putting the team's DPS on their back, but only one man can do so much. The lone soldier, Nepu, goes down in the midst of spikes and fury. Connor takes their life. And now Alex tries to step back, has overclock in their pocket. Doesn't even need it to try to get one more kill on board. But Fifi taking down the turret and the turret maker. This Pharah is a problem.
No, yeah, exactly. And even if you have that Ana to at least throw the antis and make things a bit harder for this brawlier core of EMC, I think you might need to make the swaps, right? I don't think this Brig is getting as much value. Nothing's really diving them, only rushing them. So I think a swap is needed, but a High Noon is flanking on the side, and oh dear.
Oh no! Oh, no! What a boop! Deadeye, you're dead yourself. The Morton core comes down as well, but Fifi are to take down Ichi with their own salvo. Overclock, gonna clock Nepu in the skull, and Tarka gets domed as well. Only Carlos left remaining. Their turret instantly disassembled. As we now take over to 99%, Carlos dies in a fierce war cry, and it's gonna be first map to Kinaidos. Wait, or is it? We got a nice contest there from the Tracer. Instantly, though, she gets stoned by the railgun by Alex. It's only going to be padding their damage stats a moment longer. EMC Kinaidos take it decisively.
Exactly, and that's really just from a really solid gameplay from EMC, right? Even though they made some small tank swaps along the way, I think the game plan was just really strong from them. Just focusing on really focusing on playing what ultimates they have, being the first to aggress, but at the same time, I think they were all on the same page on who they wanted to go on to first, because it seemed like in a lot of these scenarios, this Excelsior was a bit all over the place and kind of like overextending unnecessarily.
Yeah, it just wasn't the focus fire we needed. We were sometimes trying to crane our next takedown that far. I mean, you saw the hazard at points was dedicating attention to the far. That's just not your job. You have to designate your duties properly. And also, I think that you're right. We're getting a bit too stubborn in terms of trying to play this brawly, up-close and personal comp. Farah's not going to play your game. She's not going to stay up close to you. Maybe we'd like to see a switch to a diva or something else that can just stop her in her tracks and also swat her from the sky.
Yep, and I think a lot of this has to do with this composition, right? It seems like Nepu wants to go in on that.
Tragic.
Oh, that's so tragic. Like, Nepu wants to go in on that hazard, but it always seems like there's just no follow-up with it, right? And so I think there needs to be some level of swap and maybe the DPS that's being run for this Bliss Excelsior team. Because there has to be a follow-up with the hazard one way or another. He can't just go in alone with nothing backing him up. It has to be one other person. He can't do everything alone.
One man is not enough. 5 players have not been enough so far, and 1 map is enough for EMC Kinaidos to continue to feel nice and secure in their spot. They say, we got this one in the bag. We already swept you guys aside once. You want more? Bliss Excelsior. Hopefully after that one, you know, you're trying to come up with that scrap energy saying, this time we got it, guys. That is a sobering reminder of the skill that comes from these Grandmaster players on Kinaidos. And now the mental game. I'm hoping that they have that resilience to say, next map mentality. By no means are we out of this one just yet. It's still a first of 4. We got time.
Yep, and I think if there's one thing Bliss has in their favor now, it's deciding, I guess, the map that we're going to end up going to. So I think that is something that they can lean in their favor. They can kind of set the tempo as needed, right? Play it towards their strengths if that's what they want. It seems like maybe Bliss Excelsior was preferring to play a Juno on this map, but had to make the necessary swaps. So because of the ban. So hey, at least you have your Juno back for this next map. But we are still waiting on, you know, where we are headed for this second map.
I'm just trying to think of like the mentality in terms of what does Bliss Excelsior want to do? What does their composition imply they enjoy? They like to be scrappy, right? They like the hazard, they like the Winston, they like the Malga, they want to get up in your face and shove lead down it. So in that case, maybe some push. I wouldn't mind seeing a push map at some point between them, but I don't know. I think the technical execution is just really the issue, and Kinaidos seem to be leaps and bounds ahead of it. And I'm not just talking about the Winston leaps, but nonetheless, what are you hoping for in terms of Thor? If you were to say the ideal path forward for Bliss Excelsior to get the leg up in the next map, what do you think that selection's got to be?
One is if you are down your usual, I guess, preferred player on the team on a certain role, maybe that's one. Apparently we are getting some little hints that a certain starter player may have taken a bit longer of a nap than necessary, but it seems like they are back, so maybe that might change things around. But just judging from how how Nepu wanted to play, they definitely want to play something that's a bit divier. So you'd want a DPS that comes in and plays that kind of like divier playstyle, a DPS that could quickly adjust between, hey, let's play this in a divier way versus playing it in like a brawlier kind of way. And Tracer is always a character I think in mind for those kinds of scenarios.
I mean, we saw it at the very end there, but it just instantly got clocked by the railgun. I don't know. It's been rough. It's been rough. There are not too many fights where Bliss not only took it decisively, but they were able to maintain the point from along, right? There was that one where they got 10% on the board. 10%, awfully nice, but in school, I'm a teacher, man. That's a failing grade right there. That's an E. That's a big F, all right? With a big minus afterwards. So Bliss Excelsior, let's get up a bit more. I'd say at this point, you're looking for side quests. You're just trying to look for the small stuff that coalesces into the bigger objectives here. So in my eyes, try to just look to take down Fifi more efficiently. If we can focus fire one of their players, we can focus fire the rest of them too.
Yep, and I think a lot of that also just comes with, okay, how are we going to hard enable our hit scan player to take down this Farah? Because Larv was really doing a lot of work for the team one way or another. Like really, like he was trying his best to deal with all the forces left, right, center, right, for whether it's in the air or on the ground. But you know, if you're not ensuring that he's staying alive through all of that, then it doesn't really matter. Like, you want to give him some of that time to build up towards it.
Absolutely. You need a bit of time to marinate, right? Just like some good chicken. Just like any steak. Want to make sure it's properly seasoned and cooked up with a good sear on top. But so far, EMC Kinaidos, they're playing it well done. As we see the map heading to next, going to be King's Row. Now, if we're talking about maps that everyone knows, everyone's got in their staples of their Overwatch 2 Bible, King's Row's got to be the second chapter right after Deuteronomy, right? So hopefully it's going to spell better things for Bliss Excelsior.
I like how out of all the books in the Bible you've decided to pick, it's Deuteronomy. Like,
I don't know my stuff, bro. Jonathan, right? Isn't that, that's numbers? There we go. Now we're starting to talk about it. But let's talk about the 1s and 2s on these bans, my friend. Give me your predictions. You've been accurate so far. So speaking of numbers, 100% in terms of the predictions for what everyone's looking for. What do you think Bliss Excelsior want to take off the map now?
Deny May. Look.
Of course.
It's King's Row.
Blasphemy, I say.
It's King's Row, like sticking to like the heresy of Bibles and all that. But if you think about it, what has been time and tested usually on a King's Row map is a May, right? Just really blocking, blocking joints, chokes, joints, aka corners, right? No, apparently Bliss Excelsior have rather decided to ban the Lucio, which means we're denying yet another speed character, which I can understand why we're banning this character, right? If you're looking for consistent speed to go through chokes, which King's Row has way too many, right?
True.
You'd want at least something more of a consistent speed compared to, hey, something that's a speedy cooldown that only exists for around 12 seconds. So a Lucio ban, not too bad. Now, I'm wondering what EMC is planning to do, just because what we've at least seen from Bliss Excelsior, I don't really have any hero in mind that is going to be a problem for them. And even though Bliss Excelsior haven't really shown a Ramatra, EMC may have some information, maybe from playing with them previously, that Bliss Excelsior might be running out with a Ramatra.
Could come from the mole they have on the inside. Also could just come from the fact that King's Row is a lot more of a stable boots on the ground map, and Ramatra likes to keep their feet on terra firma. I like the Lucio ban, not only because, like you said, consistent speed is a freaking hassle in a map with so many chokes, but also the trauma that our friend Larv had to experience by being booped off the map, using that Deadeye. We all saw it on the replay. It was horrid. So we can't see Shilly do that work again. Instead, they got to try to find a different pick. So, hippity-hopping into the game shortly. Bliss Excelsior, once again trying to prove that not only have they made it here, but they belong here on the grand final stage. EMC Kinaidos trying to put them back in their place.
Well, EMC Kinaidos might have a bit more work to maybe consider, as there have been substitutions, at least on the side of Bliss Excelsior. Their starting DPS player finally woke up from the deep slumber of an honest sleep and is now back in the lobby. Seraphim has decided to come in for Carlos, so maybe that might change things up for this team, who knows? But as we load into the trash-filled subway stations of King's Row, I don't know what's worse, the subway stations of England or the subway stations of New York. I do not know. I've never been to one of them. I live in the other. But coming out of this, we at least have an interesting lineup. Wait a minute. I don't trust a Mercy on this. Wait. I feel like I'm being trolled. I'm gonna just take a look at this EMC comp. EMC comp is running on this Orisa. So you're not really having any shields, but you definitely have a lot of that burst power, that, I guess, long-term sustainability as an Orisa. An Orisa sometimes just takes forever to just die. So I think that enables them to at least fight a incoming amount of damage better. But Bliss Excelsior going for a dive on King's Row. Hello?
Okay. I mean, the D.Va comes a bit late. There's no far to counter now, but a good ante on top of that Orisa could result in some good things. Connor able to stay back up so far. So, yeah, seems we're full dedicating into the full tilt, but unfortunately the person you leave behind is going to be that Ashe, and Connor takes their head.
Yep, and the DPS line of the Excelsior already down, but it looks like there is an attempt to at least get this support line of Bliss Excelsior out and safe, but they are going to get pincered, and they're just trying their best to stay alive, but the Orisa spinning in the corner is not looking great. Oh, the anti is just
Let him go!
not so great. Oh, that's a Diva stagger. Go,
That was a slaughter. That was a slaughter. Let's talk about the fact that Orisa just pinned them up against the lockers. Talk about EMC Kinaidos being your schoolyard bullies. They are actually menaces. Someone call the principal. Nepu literally saying if you can't beat him, join him, I guess.
And apparently that is exactly the case, and I think a lot of it just really has to be, even though anti is such a great skill, if you can't really survive throughout all of this, it's not great. So it looks like the DPS line of Bliss Excelsior is still the same. So that means they can harass this back line of EMC Kinaidos just better. But Terrasurge online and
Takes down Ichi to start. Seraphim follows up. Beefy manages to find their head as well. Larv does manage to beat down Chili, but is that going to be enough? They're on the point, but for how long before Alex finishes the job with one last shot from that railgun? Fifi switch strikes, looking for the Juno this time. Might not be banned. Doesn't mean we still can't get her off the map in other means, more violent means. Fifi in the back line harassing Nepu. Switch strikes right back. Almost managed to finish off the break before pulling out the Dragon Blade. Nearly decapitating the Juno, but Larv finishes them off.
Yep. One down on the side of EMC, and hey, if you're EMC, you have two support ultimates to work with, and they can overclock. But ooh, that is nasty. I think you just have to build towards a support ult and keep Alex alive through all of this, because those are your winning combinations.
Yeah, Alex takes down Nepu as well. Clearly one of the most deadly Sojourns we've seen so far. Both support ults being used, but it's only after the fact. Can they get the damage done? Seraphim will fall, unfortunately, instead. So not quite the damage you wanted to see. Bliss Excelsior being completely held at bay.
Okay, but this is kind of a bad situation for EMC. You forced both of your support ultimates when you just needed one. So you only have an overclock to work with in this next fight, whereas Bliss Excelsior will potentially have 3.5. So you can go in with any of these ultimates, and I think they just need to right now. Bliss Excelsior has to commit, and they've already committed with that orbital ring.
Here comes the overclock, but the issue is it's from Alex, one of the deadliest shots this side of the West. Never mind, Seraphim proves that they can do it better, taking down their opposition. Nuke will fall, Connor Man as well. It's a decisive fight by Bliss Excelsior. Fifi gets speared in the heart.
Yeah, and this Orisa just asking, where's my Juno? Well, your Juno might have went back to the spawn, because if there's one thing Bliss Excelsior had, it was just better ultimates online. So it's one of the few things you have to take into consideration. Like maybe you are leading in terms of just, you know, ult charge, but ult charge is so much of also when do you use it and not overusing ultimates, and that just leaned in the favor of Bliss Excelsior. Yes, there's a Terrasurge for EMC Kinaidos, and I wouldn't be surprised if this maybe be comboed with a Pulse Bomb from Fifi, or at least to deny this push from Bliss Excelsior. But hey, if you're Bliss Excelsior, you still have ultimates to work with, like that rally and building up towards an overclock. But Larv may have been stuffed behind enemy lines.
Duping and trooping on. Fifi takes down Larv, and here comes Terrasurge. Doesn't quite find too much without the Pulse Bomb to secure anything further. Fifi beats down Tark before recalling and going right back in. Pulse Bomb doesn't quite find the damage you want, or at least the kills. Gets a bit of a slot out of Nepu's health bar, but they're going to be staying just fine. This Excelsior slowly but surely trying to push past this underpass. Fifi in danger, but still going to be kept up to full by that support.
I think Seraphim has to commit with this overclock to get through this push. You don't have any other ultimates to work with, and you want to do it before EMC gets any other ultimates online, like a support ult, and that's exactly what they're doing.
Looking for the break first. Nepu comes away with their head. Fifi gets beaten down by Larv. Here comes the Warrior Charge. As the rest of Bliss Excelsior all rally around Seraphim in their ult, but Alex will finish the job with that Disruptor shot. Nonetheless, Bliss Excelsior were able to force through the choke. The question is, can they continue to maintain on the front line? Alex gets taken out by the advanced party. Tark bloodies their gun muzzle.
Yep, and just looking for your ultimates to work with. EMC now have a orbital ray and a soon-to-be rally to keep things up. So if I'm Bliss Excelsior, maybe just back up a bit, wait for, you know, your Tracer to come back in, so that this is a fair fight, because you're definitely expecting Fifi to be zipping from the sides, trying to get a pick and build up towards maybe another Pulse Bomb soon. And if you're Bliss Excelsior, you have to commit to go in with something.
Nuke managed to take down Tark. Seraphim goes down. Terra Surge there from Nepu. At the very least, there's a good distraction if you don't get the kills. Connor managing to take down Bliss Excelsior. Nonetheless, even without having to use that ultimate, finishes off Nepu with one last spear flourish. And that's going to be Bliss Excelsior sent packing back home. 40 seconds remaining and still quite a bit of distance from the second point.
Damn, I didn't know horses were able to, you know, drop it down like that, but apparently that's what Connor has decided to do after that push. Bliss Excelsior, though, will have 2 ultimates to work with, one of them being that Tracer ult, and another is that Orbital Ray. So the really only answer to all this would probably be for EMC to use an ultimate, but that Pulse Bomb might have been a bit too wide. Larv maybe too antsy, needed to wait a bit.
Ambitious, I understand it. You really want to try to take down Alex, especially knowing that they got that overclock. Rally to me. Shilly going to provide nice and armor for Connor, ensuring they can stay safe while they put on the Terra Surge. Doesn't find anyone. It's okay. Alex shoots their companion right next to them. Lars is what you're looking at. These bullets. Alex takes down 3, looking for more as well. Quadra onto HP. The only sole survivor, Seraphim. EMC Kinaidos, hold firm.
I mean, if you think about it, Alex did clean up just at the very tail end after the confirm that they've managed to hold. Well, we'll count it. So just say there's a 5k, right? It looks very nice for the stats if you think about it. But if there was one thing that EMC Kinaidos at some point at least managed to do to stop this bleeding and this push from Bliss Excelsior, it was actually starting to rotate their ults properly, right? Not using both support ultimates at one go just to keep things alive. So that at least ensured they always had a support ultimate to work with and another one besides the support ultimate to keep things going and sustained. So at some point it just became difficult for Bliss Excelsior to I guess respond in kind, because what ends up happening is when both these teams are ult rotating effectively, it then becomes a question of who uses an ult better, and sometimes it's the team that decides to aggress with it first, right? So really, it seems like that's what EMC had at the end of the day.
The issue in my mind, I mean, like, if I think about Bliss Excelsior and their successful fights, right, it's when they have ultimates. Like you said, their cycling was really good. It was solid for sure. However, what happens when the chips are down? What happens when you don't have those meters, those Qs all ready for action? The picks just go the way of Kinaidos. They're able to more efficiently, without having to rely on big rig team fight abilities, still find some kills that bleed Bliss Excelsior dry. I think Larv's doing a great job of that, but Seraphim on the Ashe had trouble to start off last time. Hopefully we see better success the second go around when they're on the defense.
I think an Ashe in this type of setup is much better. An Ashe on defense is much more effective than an Ashe on attack. I think just there's less need to just disengage. You can hold a spot much better, but this is an interesting comp from Bliss Excelsior, like still sticking to the dive. And I think a lot of it is just being able to pincer, but when your Diva's dropping immensely low in that way, is not looking as great. I think there needs to be a flip on which support is babysitting the Diva, right? I think your Brig has to be on your Ashe more than your Ana on Ashe.
Yeah, you want someone who's going to be able to stop the dive. Instead, you can't even stop to keep yourself alive. Alex takes them out real quick. Seraphim finds the pick we're looking for, and Alex will fall after thanks to a nice gun butt slam from Larv. Now, in their sniper's nest, has the positioning necessary to smoke it out. Anyone who tries to stick too long around now could find themselves in danger. Good coach gun blast, grants them some space. But you see that the Tracer's not quite out of the race just yet. Looking to try to finish off Seraphim, but Brig this time does come rushing to their aid. Good coach gun finishes off Fifi.
Oh my gosh, that looked pretty terrifying. Fifi doing so much work just keeping this Ashe and Brig distracted, but just long enough actually for EMC to get a first tick, because there was so much peel needed onto Seraphim. But if you're Bliss Excelsior, that's fine. It's just one tick, you have another fight, and already you have Larv trying to keep this other Tracer in check, but Alex is there to keep them in check.
Just doesn't work the same way. Alex is so much more easily able to handle a Tracer that's gone rogue. Now Fifi could find themselves in a spot of bother, able to retreat back and receive those heals very quickly. Sniper's Nest, Seraphim is going to be very crucial to try to maintain this defense, but with already 2 ticks down, EMC Kinaidos slowly but surely securing this point, forcing them back with the stab spin. Going to be the big Diva bomb, but will it find any targets right behind the phone booth? Here's a call for you. It's the Underworld. Nepu going to be sent there with quickness. Nuke and Chili will fall, though. No supports left for EMC Kinaidos. Can the Orisa stand firm given that? Terra Surge in pocket, has a big shield. Good stun, too. Connorman goes down.
Ooh, I feel like the problem Bliss Excelsior is going to run into is the same problem EMC had, but it looks like we might have a disconnect from one of the sides with that automatic pause, and it seems like it is a tank player that might have been DC'd.
Embarrassing.
Okay, apparently it was not. So it was a different role, but there is a DC from one of the sides, and so Bliss Excelsior is in a pinch, right? They've used so many ultimates just to keep that first point in their favor, having to commit that nano, having to commit the bomb, having to commit also rally just to melt down this Orisa, that literally the only thing they have left is Bob. So you're hoping that this Bob from Seraphim is timed so well that like it does work. It keeps the point alive for them, as everyone else has to build towards an ult. But last I checked, EMC has a Terra Surge and is building towards an overclock. It's not looking as great.
It's not even just an overclock, bro. It's an Alx overclock, which feels like it's just like a passive buff that every shot finds ahead, and you're just able to click on them with impunity. It's really scary. It's like Alx is playing Overwatch 2, but with an op from Counter-Strike 2 instead. So I just don't know what we do from this point forward. We're just not finding the picks more efficiently. Larv goes in. What happens? Alx doesn't need someone to babysit. They're independent. This kid can watch themselves, they say. In fact, the babysitter gets babysat by them. They're the one keeping everyone safe. They're the one keeping all the sheep in a row. Whereas you saw that same engagement being played out where Fifi was going in on the Ashe, and you mentioned it, keeping them distracted for so long. They just couldn't swat that gosh darn mosquito.
Yep, and I think a lot of it has just been where Seraphim has decided to drop to deal with this Tracer, right? I think when the moment Seraphim dropped to that low ground trying to contest the Tracer, that's kind of where it became like a do or die iffy kind of situation. Because then you're putting yourself in an open space, which works really well for a Tracer. And also at the same time, in a spot where there is how many accessible minis or like megas in that space of like just behind that archway choke. So it's a feasting ground for a Tracer player. So I think that's one of the times where for Seraphim, it's like, do I really need to chase this Tracer? Or can I just let this Tracer kind of just be a slight pest in that area, right? Like let them disengage from the fight when they drop really low and just play my high ground angles. Because I think that's what Fifi needs Seraphim needs at the end of the day. Play those high grounds, stay on those high grounds. Like, yes, you want to take that Tracer out so bad, but if you put yourself in a position where it's in a area that's in favor of the Tracer, it's lost, right? Like, you play in a spot where it's so hard for the Tracer to possibly just blink around and just get a mini or a mega. And the high ground where Seraphim was already set with the Ana was such a perfect spot for it. There's no minis in there other than the Tracer having to be forced to go back down.
Absolutely, and like people at home might be saying, well, you know, they got the kill. Sure, they got the kill, that's nice, but let's say that situation repeats itself 5 times. Maybe only 2 out of 5 times you win that fight, that 1v1, and then those other 3 times, all it takes is one fight for this entire game to be blown wide open. EMC Kinaidos don't even need to reach to the second point. They just got to get closer than Bliss Excelsior do. But first things first, we got to try to secure the first point. Now we see Seraphim being invaded from their tower in the sky. Fifi takes down Tarkin. Maybe heard our advice, says, all right, I'll just switch characters and try to take you down there.
Yep, and I think part of the whole issue with that is I think Seraphim still has this Bob. I think at that given moment, if you're being dove on by this Genji and your Ana is down, I think you pop Bob just to help your D.Va on point and keep it alive, because now you have EMC just rolling through the second point with a time bank of a bit more than 3 minutes and the golden box of victories in that halfway point of the second point. You need a perfect fight for this next one, and they're already taking over Archway because you died pretty late.
Yeah, that is so unfortunate. Think about how long it took Bliss Excelsior just to get through that. They had to use that overclock, right? That was on before from Seraphim just to have a chance. Nuke gets sniped out, though. Seraphim trying to prove their valor this moment. Both DPS do have ultimates available. Question is, how will they be used? Alex trying to swat down Larv, having a bit of a hard time. Doesn't have quite as much railgun built up to get the one and done. So Larv's going to retreat back, having done their job and hassled Kinaidos back enough that they've got to disengage.
I think this Genji from Fifi is a good swap, especially if you're expecting an Ashe. I think it allows for that verticality to easily get to that Ashe at the end of the day, but Larv already finding out Fifi and, manages to get the kill even though there's a deflect.
Nice work moving around that. Alex gets countered from the overclock with a nicely timed pulse bomb. Chili gets revenge for the fallen comrade. Takes down Tartu. No supports there for Bliss Excelsior, but the DPS did both fall from Kinaidos, which does make this push a bit more hard, but still possible. Slowly but surely, we inch our way to victory. Map 2 is within their reach. All they gotta do is grasp it. But Itchy's here to try to stop them. Quickly slammed back against the wall. The bullies take map 2.
Man, that would have been such huge kills from Larv just to stop that, but everyone else on the team just falling apart in the front line. So map 2 going to EMC, and even with, you know, that disconnect, and let's be clear, that's a disconnect with a lot of ult charge on that Brig. The Brig was very close to rally at that point, so they still managed to turn things around and in their favor, even with that ultimate downside. So I'm pretty unsure how Bliss Excelsior then should be responding to this.
With confidence, with perseverance, that's the only way forward. They're not by any means close. They're not on death's door just yet, only having 2 maps down, but nonetheless, it's decisive. It's never felt like Bliss Excelsior have had a real handle at a chance for victory, and that starts to get demoralizing after a certain point. Let's look at what Alex was able to do with 1 ultimate, taking out dang near the entire team themselves. It just always feels like we're batting from the back foot with Bliss Excelsior. Even when they're thriving, they're barely surviving.
Yeah, and apparently that's how the Diva on that attempt at bomb remake really couldn't get as much value as they wanted. If Nepu had survived all of that, I think maybe Seraphim may have bobbed at that point, but it's just really unfortunate for this Bliss Excelsior team. But
yeah,
we are at least going to a short break, so they have time to regain what might have been lost momentum, get their mental straight, kind of think of a plan going down the line, and hey, maybe that's what they need. So we will be heading to a short break, so don't go anywhere.
Yeah. 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 Memories. Memories. Yeah.
Hello everyone, welcome back to CGL Season 15 EU Grandmasters here. Map 3 on the horizon as we look to see who can take it between Kinaidos as well as Bliss Excelsior. It's D-Lo, it's Thor. Here on the mics, we got Headrammer, Cry, Orange, and Skylar keeping the prod on and the camera steady. Thor, how we feeling?
I mean, I'm feeling pretty good. Bliss Excelsior may have a different story, but hey, they had that 3-minute break. Maybe they turned things around. And, you know, I'm taking a look already at where they plan to bring us for this map 3. And already, I like what I'm seeing. They're bringing us to Rialto.
Okay. Bit of a change up here. I'm hoping it has a better effect there. Just get that nice little hybrid. You don't have to worry about... Or, not hybrid, sorry. Not having to grab the point, I think, is actually a big boon, because that hybrid was causing a lot of issues. They were stalled out for quite a bit of time there for Bliss Excelsior. Now, as we hippity-hop into these P's and B's, or more importantly, the bans, what do we think Bliss Excelsior need to ban away? Is it an issue of misplaced bans, or is it just an issue of misplaced confidence in certain picks?
I think it's not just... I think it's more of... They want to play a certain comp or maybe a certain style, and the map design or choice just isn't leaning towards what they want to play, perhaps, is one of it, or how they envision it. So I think it might be a misplaced ban at the end of the day. Previously they did ban that Lucio, and I think maybe that Lucio ban wasn't too much of an issue, maybe, perhaps, but they've decided to ban the Winston instead, which I think is pretty interesting as a ban. I think they are expecting a dive one way or another, so that forces EMC to at least be playing. If they want to mirror the dive, they'll have to play something like a Diva or maybe that Wrecking Ball, which is maybe not as ideal. They're really good in Rialto, right? For a dive character, but it's more of, well, if you're expecting to play with shields, it's just out of the question at least. But EMC are probably gonna ban something along the lines of a damage. I wonder if they're going to try to nerf Seraphim on this Ashe pick, but it seems like they'd rather nerf the Widowmaker, realizing that just the long distance one-shot potential in a map like Rialto is deadly. Makes sense.
Yeah, Ashe is going to be likely then, right? It makes complete sense, especially given that Seraphim was clearly leaning towards that. I like what you said before. It's about the fact that our friends at Excelsior are kind of shoving square-shaped pegs into circle-shaped holes. They're not flexing. They're not being fluid. They're not being liquid enough to match the energy of the map as well as the enemy composition staring them down. You got to hope that they've taken that mental reset. They've experienced tranquility. They got some meditative practice from Zenyatta, and they're ready to get back into action shortly.
And let's be clear, like, a dive on King's Row is not that bad, right? Especially on that if you do it on a first point defense, right? I think it was a lot of it was just positioning afterwards and just really holding your ground in some spaces. But before we could even head into the map, there are some, I guess, player substitutions and production. The player substitution is on the side of EMC Kinaidos on the tank, and I don't think it's been reflected. Cozier is coming in for Connor Mauman, so the really solid tank of EMC Kinaidos has been substituted for this map. So I think we're expecting this EMC team to have swapped based on really the map that they are ending into. Maybe Cozier is just really, Cozier playing dive.
Right, Connor's just trying to, rest the fingers on the joysticks, on those keys, saying, listen, man, I got carpal tunnel. Leave me out for a couple maps. And they've been really doing a good job of using those fists of fury to just hit anyone up against a corner, up against a wall that tries to step up to them. So I don't mind giving Connor a bit of a break. They've certainly done their duty well. Bliss Excelsior, maybe you can take advantage of that, the lack of new chemistry. You now have some new elements being introduced on Kinaidos' side. Does it jive well? Does it mix, or will it be like oil and water and separate, cause some of these pieces to maybe fall out of the puzzle? Hopefully Bliss Excelsior can take advantage.
Exactly, but as we wait to load in to Rialto, I'm wondering if, just at least from what Bliss Excelsior have banned, right? I'm at least expecting that they do still want to play this kind of divier setup similar to what they ran on King's Row. The ban on the Winston really is to deny any shield presence so that at least that Seraphim really rain damage without worrying about a shield in front of their face.
Just really hoping that we see something that we haven't gotten to see from them yet. They're reaching down into their bag of tricks, elbow deep, neck deep, chest deep, and they're just starting to find something else within them. Sometimes the greatest of adversity invites the greatest of plays, invites the greatest of your own strength inside you. Rialto's gonna be the map. Same two teams we're all well and used to. It's going to be a tough one.
Yep, and here we at least have, as we, prepare to load in, really just waiting on our production to let us load in. I more am wondering what EMC Kinaidos is planning to roll out with, as we now have one of my more interesting views of Rialto. I really love this bot over there that just is doing its job. It's cleaning, so making sure this city is well designed, well kept.
I like the sewers.
You like the sewers?
Nothing like those sewers. They need to hire a couple of those bots down in King's Row.
Oh my gosh! Wait, that's so true. They do need to hire those ones on King's Row. But already you could see that this EMC Kinaidos team is planning to run that mirror kind of dive. But what is interesting is, rather than playing it with a brig, right, or another like hit scan like kind of support, they're still rolling out with that Lucio. So I think we might be seeing some silly rollout shenanigans from Chile. Might be my hopeful guess. I am down for any good Lucio rollout that gets value. But we did have that brief pause for a moment, and I think they're just fixing a few things from these teams. Like, I don't know if it was map settings.
Maybe their gamma's down. Who knows? But we'll be hippity hopping in shortly. I did see Double Diva, which is interesting. You talked about the fact that they banned that Winston from BX to try to say, all right, no dive. You shall not pass go. Do not collect $200. To say, I think we're rolling doubles. We're gonna get out of jail real quick and get that 200 real quick as well. So the fact is, it's gonna be a breakneck pace. And I struggle to imagine that BX can keep up with that, so I'm not sure how I feel about them doubling down on their dive as well.
I think it might be, at least from the issue from how I viewed King's Row, is the dive was actually pretty solid from them when it worked, right? It was just more of, okay, when this Genji or Tracer of Fifi manages to just find their way into the high ground and harass this backline, it becomes a problem. But we are having a flipped story this time, with both teams running a brawlier kind of setup counter to this diva we were initially seeing. So I wonder if that's the case, and we are now back. Oh my gosh, this Excelsior, why are we back on this Junkrat? Okay, I was like, are we really repeating Lijiang Tower, which looked way more atrocious than how King's Road looked like? So I'm glad to see that they're still sticking to what works, and now this time there is a Tracer going in with Nepu on this Hazard, because as I said, that's what they were missing on Lijiang Tower for all of this. EMC on the other hand, going for this more brawlier type of setup with the Ramatra. So if Park can get a huge nade in, that would be great, but already Fifi has gotten Narv's number.
That's a rough way to start things off. Fifi proving their prowess on this Tracer, has been doing so on every single map so far. Nepu steps up, might be able to try to take down Cozier, but in that Nemesis form, very difficult to do away with. In fact, HB gets taken out, and Chili back on the boops. Back on that B, as you're gonna be able to take down Nepu with ease. Don't know how to swim, you're dead.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate. Playing by a bridge. Don't play too close to a bridge, but already you have Zarb trying to contest this Tracer and this cart, so that at least pressures out a Tracer for just a bit as the cart continues rolling and things aren't looking as great.
Alex trying to look for that last railgun shot on Larv, goes a bit wide. That's a-okay. If I'm looking at one player on EMC Kinaidos, it is this Alex, and Nuke gonna still manage to finish the job. Quickly shuts me up, says, hey, I'm important too. Manages to finish off the Tracer for their friend the Sojourn. Cozier steps up, Fists of Fury, but gets put to sleep for it. Drop down very low, but great heals keep them up somehow.
Yep, and just really the matching nade Suzu timing, really just countering each other is such a great play from Nuke. So that nade is down for a significant amount of time. Nuke with a rush means that they can hold this point just a bit longer if Bliss Excelsior creates some form of push, but already they're finally taking the damn high ground as needed and building towards a nano, which is going to definitely be an opener and at least keeps Nepu alive should he jump in as quickly. And already Larv has taken out Nuke, so there's no rush.
Up in the skies, Coach Gunn to try to get that height, and Alex will be brought down low. Seraphine with an amazing pick there. Be trouble here as well for Cozier. Has Annihilation, but likely won't like to pop it. Instead, just trying to fall on their own sword. Lucio in the back line gets beaten down by Larv. Payback for making my friend take a quick swim, as now Bliss Excelsior, slowly but surely, and actually pretty gosh darn quickly when it comes to the timer. 1 minute 30 left, and they're already dang near that second point.
Yeah, Fifi is already on that high ground along with Nuke, and they're trying to be kept at bay by Larv, but already Nepu just takes out Nuke.
Nice with the downpour, continues to stay on top thanks to Spiky Shield, but the longer you stay alive, the longer this Annihilation continues. A violent leap on forward. Cozier gets disassembled by the claws. Darka takes the kill. Lucio lurking in the backline. That nano coming in so clutch to ensure Bliss Excelsior didn't need to expend everything, but Bob doing something in the backline. Fifi likes to take their own life.
That's a blink of all blink or recall of all ages. But yes, Bliss Excelsior may have used so many ultimates just to get that, but that's fine. That's the really annoying choke of Rialto, right? Once you get it past there, this card should be smooth sailing. This is where the next painful point of Rialto is, and with your Kiriko already down, it's just gonna be even more painful. Never mind, it's a back and forth.
Even Steven so far. Fifi finishes off the old woman, puts her out of her misery. In the hospice care she goes. Larv drops down, trying to find escape from Cozier. Now on the Diva. Interesting switch up now, going a bit more of that dive, going a bit more mobile. Using those jets to try to streak across, take down this hazard. Well, that's an awful hazard for you. Brigida's on the side, trying to make sure the babysitting is going to continue.
And I think if you're Bliss Excelsior, that's fine. Your Ana is down, you still have that rally, so that's going to keep everyone else up. But Overclock already online for Alex, and we know Alex does so much work with this Overclock. So I think they just really need to go in with a, oh my gosh, I thought I almost saw a blue.
What a great rally from Michi to continue to keep the team nice and alive. Shilly gets Suzu narrowly taken down there by that anti. Will stay up top. Has Sound Barrier in pocket. Likely not going to elect to use that just to keep themselves selfishly safe. Tracer playing Ring on the Rosie with Fifi, but will we all fall down is the question. A good jet moves them on back right in the range of Alex with the overclock. Clocks Ichi in the head. Larv goes down too. Now Bliss on the back end.
I think what was crazy was Shilly distracted this whole pretty much most of this Bliss Excelsior team for such a significant amount of time, did not die in the process, and managed to just regroup with the team just in time when Larv had pushed the cart way close to already their spawn and the backup was just there to stop the further push. So I think Bliss Excelsior may have just opted to roll the cart along, you know, with that Lucio just being a pest in the backline. Nuke with a rush, and they are probably going to try to commit this to the high ground. Not when they've already used Suzu, or maybe not.
Oh, walled off though. Nuke's gonna quickly use a TP to get back to Cozier's side. On the front line, got plenty of health still. Shilly can't say the same. Pulse bomb blows him up. Ichi goes down. Nepu slices Alex apart. And now Alex gonna continue from the grave to still do damage. Tark will die. 2 for 2 so far across the board, but the payload's got to move forward. Nepu knows it, but will the spike shield save you from the dancing dragon blade? Larv gets 2-tapped on. The deflate nearly finishes off the Ash, but Fifi will be able to escape. Same with Seraphine.
Yep, but hey, you forced out a really major ultimate from EMC Kinaidos, right? Did not use any other ultimate in the process, so you're going to take that win if you are Bliss Excelsior. 40 seconds left on the clock, and you still have Bob, you still have that nano, so you're definitely going to want Bob in for either point to continue pushing that point, or at least do damage in order to split everyone else. But oh, Bob's in an interesting spot.
Bob Do something, please! Seraphim's not going to have the most luck with these ultimates, whether it be timing or placement. Good Suzu keeps them all alive. The backline was in a bit of danger there. Nepu goes in to try to finish the job that Bob couldn't, but still blasted back. An amazing boop keeps the rest of the support safe, and Alex can't say the same. They go down. Seraphim has their life traded out as Cozier avenges their comrade. Still moving on slowly but surely. 4 meters still separate Bliss Excelsior, and they only have 3 seconds left to do it. Chili will go down Ichi, brought down to Death's Edge. In fact, they'll go over the threshold. Alex helps him over with a nice little shot from the railgun. Sleep immediately expended. Alex takes the big nap as Larv finishes the job. Tark will go down thanks to Fifi's Genji Shurikens. Larv will go down as well. Cozier continues the offense, but a good downpour from the spiking shield will finish the job on top of her. Nepu falls, Seraphim dead. It's going to be held here at second.
Oh my gosh, okay. Nepu, honestly, doing so much work on this hazard, right? Manages to corner both supports of EMC. And like, that's what you want from like your tank, is to deny the supports from even helping their tank and their DPS. So your goal is, okay, if their supports are busy, I'm hoping the rest of my 4 other teammates are managing to get the picks on, you know, the DPS and the tanks still alive on EMC, but that just wasn't the case throughout all of that. They were struggling to deal with Fifi, Alex, and Cozier in that front line, and I think that's where part of the problem is at the end of the day. It feels like there is an immense struggle to just get this tank and DPS line of EMC Kinaidos off their backs.
It feels like even when Excelsior win fights, it's always with a bit more effort, a bit more exertion than Kinaidos have to offer, right? The Kinaidos feels like if they're lifting a finger to kill someone, Bliss Excelsior have to lift their arm. And that expenditure of energy, that expenditure of ultimates, even though they're good at cycling them, it doesn't matter if you can't find picks in the regular engagements. If you can't corner 2 supports and come away with one of their corpses, then you're not able to really get done what a hazard should be, which is diving that backline, haranguing and harassing, and making life miserable for their supports. That all comes down to Shilly. I think Shilly is a massive difference, not necessarily always appearing on the kill feed, but their passive presence, as well as those really well-timed boops, are really a big problem for BX.
Yeah, and I think that just shows like the immense value of playing nasty shots, but that really just explains the value of the difference between playing a Brig versus a Lucio in this kind of setup. Like, as much as like antis are such a huge, immense value, if you're not able to really just get the kills with them, it's not as useful.
Well, Ishii won't be useful. Back in the gray screen, back in spawn. I love what we're seeing here in terms of switch. Alex now says, all right, if I can aim a railgun, I can certainly aim this rifle too. Trying to step up to Seraphim and see who can do it best. The 2 fastest guns in the West. Bliss Excelsior pushed back an awful lot quicker than they'd be able to do on their first attacking run against Kinaidos, but holding them at this point. This is a point that Kinaidos were able to succeed very easily. Bliss Excelsior took it quite handily, but the question is, can we see the same story here for Kinaidos? Larv can take down Fifi, stalls him out for a bit more time.
Yeah, but Larv dropping to 26, they need the help they all can get from their supports, but let's look at the ultimates. Larv already towards that pulse bomb is looking for a target for it, and the Lucio is looking like a juicy target. That means less boost potential, less supports, but they need to survive through all of this. No blinks available, but hey, that's why they just chase. They know there are no more blinks.
Chili, man, just continuing to be a thorn in their side. Seraphim's got a backblast back with that coach gun. Now they don't have the vision. Good nano on top of Nepu, but will that be enough? Bomb this time needs to be impactful, more so we saw on Kings Road. Dives in for Fifi, gives him a quick tat off on the back, and we'll finish the job on the Genji. Tsune rushes well, trying to back up their Diva. But Cozier comes up top with the bomb. Will it find any targets? The answer is no. Pulse bomb applied just after. Alex will fall the back line. DPS doing their work on Bliss Excelsior, but can we finish the job? Cozier put for a quick little nap and now kicked out of their mech as well. Brigida on the front line says, rally to me, I don't need an ultimate to do that damage. Nuke will fall too.
Yep, and this is a solidly good hold from Bliss Excelsior. You also did not use that many ultimates for it, only that pulse bomb, and that was such a huge play from Larv. EMC already, oh my gosh, the dreaded Zarya switch into a Diva. That just makes so much sense in this game. But if you're EMC, I think you build towards that blade and that bob. I think having those two and just comboing it in forces Bliss Excelsior to just panic in a way and look at multiple different directions and forces where they can play in the process. But if you're Seraphim, you want to use this Bob for this next fight, and they already are putting Bob in a corner, putting them and sitting them down.
Sound barrier is instantly the response. Keeps Cozier safe. They're nearly at death's door, but will not be escorted across the threshold until Nepu finishes the job. Rally here to me. Nano charging up too. Might not even be necessary. Dragonblade comes out in response, but Alex is already dead. Your DPS and arms cannot back you up. One last slice, and Ichi's head will fall, but can we get any more than that? Fifi blasted back, sat on their butt.
Oh my gosh, thank you, Bliss Excelsior, for not using any other ultimate besides those
Beautiful.
two. Yeah, exactly. Beautiful play. You are going to have 3 ultimates to work with in this last 30 seconds. Oh my gosh, not 30 minutes. I know I will not cast 30 minutes of Overwatch. But last 30 seconds, and you have 2.5 ultimates to work with. If you're EMC, you're going to have to make a drive fight to at least push this and hopefully get a pick, force out a misplay, and or at least force out this Ashe because Fifi has switched back to the Pharah. And I was wondering when they were going to go back to this because this is such a huge Pharah map at the end of the day.
Oh no! Larm's already dead. Alex back on the Sojourn. They're calling card, but a good anti. A better Suzu keeps the Zarya still alive. Has the bomb in pocket. Nepu not able to find the utility they want. Kitsune rush. Able to bail out everyone. Fifi still remains in the sky as Cozier trying to put the Brigitte down in the ground, but the bomb looking for some targets. Will it find them? Two down. Chili and Cozier atomized. Ichi blown back as well. Fifi and Alex will fall. Bliss Excelsior hold on the third map.
Nah, that bomb was unreal. How it gets 2 with where it's located is bonkers. Okay, I was not expecting anyone to get hit by that, but I guess the worry was where the cart bomb goes under cart, I guess. Yes it does. Yes it does. Do you see how that cart of Rialto is designed? Yeah, that's gonna go under. Just to be clear. So we are amazed. But for the sole reason of like, hey, Bliss Excelsior picked a map that leaned into their team's favor on how they want to play and got value. And here's one thing I also want to commend, just besides the ult rotation, is the positioning this time, right? It seemed like this Bliss Excelsior team, Seraphim and Tark, were just playing in positions that made it so much harder for everyone else on EMC to dive onto, right? Or to get to just as easily. It makes me wonder why we didn't just, like, this Pharah pick would have been massive earlier on, because that forces Seraphim to look into the air more rather than just the low ground. At the same time,
I agree.
At the same time, like, maybe sticking to that Tracer, but more focusing going onto this backline and being a nuisance, right, really helps, because Fifi was also doing so much work on a Tracer when they were initially running this Ashe on a combo on King's Row, so they could have repeated it in this matchup. So pretty interesting how this turned around and in the favor of Bliss Excelsior.
I mean, it's just, you love to see it, right? Finally, the young, scrawny upstart stands up to their bully, says, you can't push me around anymore. You hear that? Kinaidos, now, for the first time, experience defeat. They don't know what that's like in this top bracket. They've been dropping game after game against, or sorry, dropping opponent after opponent, not nary a game. Now, what do you do in response to this? Again, adversity invites sometimes the greatest from our players, but sometimes it also invites the worst. Hopefully they're not feeling too on tilt, or else they might see a steep decline in performance.
Yep, but hey, if you're EMC, you have the next map as your choice. And at this point, there really isn't any, you know, these long distant escort maps that are poke heavy, that really thrive, dive pokier characters. Those are out of the question now. There's no more escort to pick. There's no more another hybrid to pick, at least for now. We have to go through all game modes, and that means we're heading to Surabasa, right? We are heading to a Flashpoint map, which works so much more like, you know, we're back in control, we're back in the chaos. So it's just like, it leans more into how EMC wants to play, because they were doing so well on those kinds of maps that are brawlier, that allow for that, you know, chaos to thrive.
Scary. Scary stuff. EMC Kinaidos look to reunite all 7 of the Chaos Emeralds, and Bliss Excelsior trying to make sure they don't fall into the wrong hands. But at the very least, even if this is a map that favors Kinaidos, now Bliss Excelsior, they can feel good. They have that fact on their side. We got one on you. We can do this. We can win. If we can win one, we can win them all. So I love the fact that we now have got a bit more wind beneath our sails. Hopefully the momentum can cruise us into a nice, solid Flashpoint start. On the side of Kinaidos, I mean, I want to hark back to what you were talking about with the compositions. I think part of the issue as well was, even though we had an amazing performance from Axe on that Ashe, the issue is, and we saw it immediately be abused by Larv, you're not mobile. You don't have a slide. You don't really have an easy way to evade me and just sit up in the sky to evade pulse bombs. Larv instantly started abusing that, and that's why we saw that switch right back to the Sojourn, but the difference was you didn't have enough time to build up that ultimate. I think, honestly, you put them with a Sojourn that has that overclock, it could have been a completely different fight for Kinaidos.
100%. I think that's what we've harked about when it comes to playing this Ashe character, is that a lot of it has to be, you're not as mobile as a Sojourn, so you have to play those high grounds really well and really calculate when to drop the low ground. And already we could see that for EMC, the bane of their existence and what they really think is the bread and butter of this Bliss Excelsior squad is that D.Va, and said, hey, we're going to make sure that this D.Va is out on map 4, right? We're going to make sure we lock this Sorabasa map as ours so that we just have to take it all.
That's scary to me. I really like to see that D.Va on the side of BX, and now the thing that they can buy that momentum on, you're no longer able to. You're now a bit more off kilter, you know? You're not allowed to get consecutive games on this character that won you the entire map. And that means that we're kind of resetting that rhythm. Kinaidos, once again, trying to take the pace back, march to the beat of their own drum, as expected. So in that case, we now look to our friends on Bliss Excelsior. I gotta just ban Lucio. I don't care if it's boopable points or not. I think Shilly is just a demon on that character.
But the problem is Bliss Excelsior had already used their Lucio ban earlier on.
Oh, darn it, you're right.
So they can't ban the Lucio anymore. I think at this point, you might as well ban the Sojourn. I am not kidding. If you really...
I'm so with that.
Like, if you want to avoid hitting match point right away, right? Like, if your worry is like, shoot, if we do that, we're gonna hit match point right away, we ban the Sojourn. But I think I see why they're banning this Kiriko instead, right? That means you're forcing EMC to play a different flex support, essentially. And just from what we've seen, I don't think I've seen their flex support play anything else but Kiriko this whole game. So we're now going to be seeing what they're going to pull off when this character is banned. And that's actually a pretty smart move, because it then forces EMC to play something else with this Lucio. Maybe the Ana. I think we did see a bit of Ana with the Lucio on Lijiang Tower a bit. But I think they still lean more into the Kiriko, so I wouldn't be surprised if it becomes an Ana Lucio. But in that case, that makes it so much easier for Larv to just find a target and just hone in on them and just melt them, because there's less mobility on an Ana. So then you're asking a team like EMC, okay, if we're still playing this brawlier setup, do I go for a BAP now? Do I go for a Moira if I still want to play something brawlier that has some level of mobility? Because let's be clear, as much as like BAP isn't as mobile, hey, those exo boots can easily get you from low ground to high ground, right? So that Tracer isn't going to be as much of a pest to you if you are forcing them to drop to low ground to clear you off. And so you just jump exo boosts back up, and like you're safe. And the only way the Tracer's ever gonna chase you is if you force them to use recall just to chase you back.
Yeah, honestly, I wouldn't mind to see a bad pick in that sense and response, just because that guy's got hops. That man can jump. And as we're looking to jump soon into this Flashpoint map, it's once again a question of, can Bliss Excelsior continue their revolt, in a sense, up against Kinaidos? Two teams that are now thrown off of what were maybe so long ago comfort picks. Hi, buddy. Oh, this is adorable.
Hi. I know which POV this is. Our wonderful OBS Orange really look. Our OBS Orange just
spoiling us.
Just knows where all the pigeon spots are. It's crazy. See.
Aw, I'm personally a big fan of pigeons myself.
Oh,
For those who don't know, pigeons brought into our cities because of our own greed. and her humanity. They used to be war heroes. Show some respect. Salute our fallen soldiers of the avian kind. Nonetheless, the real soldiers stepping up here in a second. Kinaidos, Bliss Excelsior, map 4. Not match point yet, but does decide if Kinaidos can reach that threshold. 2 Brigidas on each side, so Ichi not going to be shivvying off that. And now Shilly's got to figure out if they can rally too.
Yeah, it looks like that Kiriko ban really forced EMC into the Juno Brig kind of setup, right? Opting not to play less mobile heroes at the end of the day. But Fifi coming back, making a scene on this Pharah, so they're definitely going to play on like a longer sideline, maybe slightly on the coast to just rain poke damage in. And it is up to Seraphim to keep them in check as they're already jumping on this Junker Queen.
Trying to do those pigeons proud, flying high in the sky. The question is, what's the response? Larv's got none. They're already dead. Tark use the torpedoes to finish off Ox, who is on their hallmark Sojourn. So I love this from EMC Kinaidos. It's a master class in their 2 DPS that they operate on the best, Sojourn and the Pharah. We haven't seen Bliss Excelsior find a cohesive answer to it yet.
Yep, and they're already just brawling it out on the point, but this Pharah is just being unchecked.
Kill her! Someone, I beg of you! Nepu gonna go down on the Junker Queen. Connor takes their head back on the tank, must be noted. Is the old classic Orisa. Seraphim gonna fall to those spears. And Shilly will die as well. Larv beaten down by the Juno, and this flashpoint's going nice and quick to Kinaidos.
So I'm wondering if Nepu really wants to stick on this Junker Queen. I think the amount of Pharah poke is just going to be immensely painful, and if Seraphim switching over to the Astrus means I think they want the more consistent damage onto the Pharah. It's so much harder to land shots on a Pharah when you're playing Sojourn just from the, I guess like the ROF of the guns. They're very different, and the Astrus allows for more precision, but what's also more precision is a spear.
Right to the chest, and then the shots right after plays so perfectly by Connor. Fifi goes down 2 to the Junker Queen. That's at least something to your name. But Connor's still running a clinic on the front lines. Nefu falls as well to the Axe Rail Gun, and OT's been reached, but I think you're not going to have any chance of a breach. Bliss Excelsior got to try for the second point.
I think what's very painful about this comp that Bliss Excelsior is that EMC Kinaidos is running is that you are getting damage from different points of the map, right? You have one in the air, you have one in the Orisa. Orisa itself does so much damage, and even Alex with that railgun does like a soft off angle is already damaged from a different angle. So your Junker Queen is just never gonna be alive. So this is why Nepu has to swap. That's why I wasn't really much of a fan of them still continuing in this Junker Queen into all of this. I think there's more survivability now if you're Nepu, and that gives more time for your DPS like Seraphim and Larv to get those picks, especially Seraphim, who needs more time to scout out this Pharah, who's already building towards a barrage.
Larv gonna go look for Luke. Does manage to blow them up. Has the pulse bomb in hand, but the question is, which DPS can you even target? Alex is so mobile. Fifi's in the sky. We look instead for that Brigida. Shilly, who's been such a thorn on their side. Indeed, it's gonna be. Larv blows him up, and Ichi will go down. This fight's been debrigified. Seraphim shoots him down in the sky. Alex getting a pull, and it's indeed going to be blown up like a discus. Nepu will get blown up there by Fifi as well. This Pharah continues just to be a monster. The Terra Surge will take down Tarka, and EMC Kinaidos take control of the point.
Okay, Bliss Excelsior. Can we not run into an Orisa? We are, like, as much as there are more of you in numbers, you are not gonna win against an Orisa in that close distance, especially when Fifi is still alive, and now with a barrage. EMC Kinaidos have 4 ultimates to work with. Bliss Excelsior, you're only at 2.5 at this point. So you have to force out one of these ultimates first before you can clearly maybe get like a winnable execution in. That, or if you can get Fifi down and out of the fight right away, that would be great.
I feel like all they need is Alex to just go overclock, and it's all too scary. Here comes a big barrage in the midst of the dancing lasers. Stay for the light show, or maybe go home, Nepu. You're already dead. Nuke takes down their doppelganger. Ichi goes down to the fist from Fifi. And Seraphim has Bob to do something, but they can't do anything themselves. They're dead again. Kinaidos hold firm.
Yeah, I think this is all up to Larv to wait for this last-minute touch. And you already could see that he is waiting for that touch, because that's going to be his job, as there's only 88% left until this full capture, and already you want another ultimate to go in. Maybe this rally from Ichi to keep everyone up and healthy, because there is no ultimates for EMC to work with, but Bob is used instead.
What a great block by the Orisa. Connor just puts up themselves as a wall, ensures that Bob can't contest. Terra Surge coming through, but Nepa can't find it. Bodies with it. A Spear's a different story. Alex and Connor all taken out. Make sure you have to step off that point, though, or else the point will not go your way. Bliss Excelsior able to move on forward and barely save that second flashpoint from the jaws of defeat.
Okay, but I feel like that may have been more ultimates as necessary for Bliss Excelsior. I think just 2 might have been just as needed, that Bob and maybe that Terra Surge. I think you wish you had that rally for this next engagement, because there is nothing really to stop what EMC has, which is currently leading in ult charge. But there is a pulse, sticks to the big, does not stick. It stays on that shield. Great job from Chili. But hey, everyone else is already stopping EMC from even further pushing in.
80% reach. Nepu stunned against the wall, but able to back up to safety. Fifi taken down by Seraphim. Huge pick there by the Ashe. Now opens the way, but Connor trying to open some skulls. Terra Surge only gets them back in for the CC. Punches down Ichi as well. All the heals on Juno's back, but you can't heal Larv. They got a hole the size of a fist inside of their chest. A great shield pass from Shilly. The flashpoint goes to Kinaidos. Wait, no, to Bliss!
No one touched the point. That's not a certified C9. They really were just fighting somewhere else. But just lost track of how quick these percentages go up, and because no one was on point and they were so intent on, you know, getting everyone else up. It's great for Bliss Excelsior. You're still in this fight. You now live another day to continue fighting for Surabasa, and this time around you have ults to work with. You're building up towards another pulse bomb. You're building towards a Terra Surge. Now, if you're EMC, you have that orbital ray, and I think you need this for this next fight to help your teammates build towards another ult through their respective ultimates, because everyone is still kind of behind on ultimate charge.
Fifi got out of that fight so quickly that they got knocked into a new character. Now playing the Genji instead, and instantly knocked down on that one too. Maybe switch right back, buddy. Nuke's dead too. Orbital laser dropped there, but not going to be finding switch more presence. Ichi does follow the doppelganger, but at this point the damage might just be done. Bliss Excelsior still trying to hang firm on the point, but haven't gotten it under control. Alex will go down. A great spear pins Larv against the wall. Connor still contributing the best ways they can and stalling for as long as they can before their fall. Now it's going to be the Seraphim kill, as before, finally, Nepu was able to do away with them. But was that enough time bought for the rest of the team to continue to contest? Bliss Excelsior not able to capture just yet. That percentage continues to climb. Fifi decides to retreat, finally ceding it for a little bit to BX.
Yep, and I think if you are EMC, that is completely fine. You've gotten so much ult charge out. You've forced also the Tracer, so there's no more Nat beside this Sojourn, and allows the rally to just go in for Shilly. I think you have to counter ult to take this point back and not just give it to them easily. Yeah, Bliss, why?
Oh, so unfortunate, but maybe they're just going to try to do through fight what they couldn't do with positioning, but an overclock instantly shoots down the laser maker. Terra Surge does find Nepo, a huge pick. Nuke gets blown up. Ichi goes down. No supports left on the side of BX. That's not going to be enough healing to keep Larv up. They go down. Seraphim takes their own life in shame. Bliss Excelsior unfortunately couldn't find it.
Bliss Excelsior, I know you had ultimates and it made sense to slightly back off, but I think with just the percentage you have to fight that point, because that's what EMC Kinaidos have done in their previous fights, and that's exactly why they got so much percentage before you finally capped it. You have to do the same in Flashpoint. You can't just give it willy-nilly just as easily, because you'll run into that situation. But luckily enough, you have ultimates to work with in this next fight. 4 in that matter. EMC probably just won with that Genji blade, and if you can find the Genji, that would be great.
Already Larv's down, but Bob's here to make up for the handicap. Flashpoint opens back up, and here comes the Terra Surge. Saw good success last time, but Nepu's not able to quite find the same contribution. Fifi does go down. Seraphim on the Eagle Eye with these shots. Shilly falls to HP as they continue to try to blow him up, and Tark will unfortunately fall. Alex continues to be the denizen of their dreams on the Sojourn, but Larv gets the recall off right after dispensing with Nuke. Seraphim goes down. Alex taken out too. Revenge by the Tracer.
Well, they can't really contest point because that Orisa was just looking for them. Connor's still alive and building towards another ultimate, very close to another orbital ray. They're probably going to lock this point very well unless Larv can get a massive stick on that pulse bomb, hopefully onto Nuke, as they already dropped immensely low.
Let's see if they can get it done. 50% separate our friends on Kinaidos from that match point. And eternal shame, Bliss Excelsior steps up. You got the 2 tanks on board, but pushing them to their own backline. Nepu in a bit of trouble. Connor with some great CC says, get the hell off my point.
orbital ray available for Nuke, and they're probably waiting to the very last minute to use it. And I think if you're with that pulse bomb, it gets nothing, and
missed.
it's not great.
We have Terror Surge available for Connor. Just trying to take down any ne'er-do-wellers around the corner. You got nowhere to go, Ass. Same with Brig. Both were united in the afterlife. Juno can do nothing but skate back to safety as we reach 99. Tark meets their own end in the yawning abyss. And it's a black void in terms of the chances Bliss Excelsior have to take the next map. Map 4 goes to Kinaidos.
That is such a masterfully clean map from EMC Kinaidos. Yes, they may have lost that point, but it was a lost point only for the sole reason of that they had a plan on who their target is and who they wanted to go on to, and it just so happened they didn't have enough time to go back to point. But that is completely fine because they put on a stellar clinic for everything, for every other point afterwards. And a lot of it is really just, I think Bliss Excelsior have good ideas on what they want to do, but I think they just give it up. I guess they give up they give up the point too easily just to make sure the plan goes well. I think in that one moment where, you know, you may have just been 3 people, you had ultimates to work with. I don't think you easily just turn this over to EMC, especially with how quick flashpoint maps tick down. I think that's what everyone kind of tends to forget, is you can't just disengage when you know the enemy team has 80% left, because that just makes it an open book for them. So great job for EMC at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, I think that just Kinaidos, they who commune with the pigeons will gain their favor and take the victory. Kinaidos were able to make sure to get the intel from those government spy drones on the rooftops above. Fifi on that far, switches off quickly. I just love the malleability of the team. I feel like they're more willing to swap it up. We've talked about this in the green. We've talked about it on screen as well. Ichi on this Brigida has just been struggling, I feel like. This is a map that really forces a lot more frontal attention. There's not really a dedicated backline like we saw in King's Row, but nonetheless, where your position matters, and when those rallies come also matters. You talked about a couple times where expended a bit unnecessarily, and those mistakes slowly add up across this long series. You're on death's door now. It's do or die. EMC Kinaidos, if they take one more map, they take the entire thing.
Well, before EMC Kinaidos can take that map, we are headed to a short break yet again.
Dang it.
So that is enough time for Bliss Excelsior to maybe fix things and turn things around, because let's be clear, the last break helped them. They did take the 3rd map, so maybe things might turn around for them. But that is something we have yet to see, and we will have to wait to see, so don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to CGL Season 15 EU Grand Masters Grand Finals. Potentially match point on our hands between Kinaidos and our friends on SX. Can they get back in there? Only time will tell. It's D'Lo and Thor here to bring you the action. We got all of our friends on prod. Headrammer, Cry, Orange, Skylar, keeping that cam steady. Thor, how we feeling?
Look, this has been a matchup of, different stories, lots of a number of comebacks, especially from the side of Bliss Excelsior, and they are going to try to make another comeback of sorts by taking us to New Queen Street and hopefully turning that map into their favor. So heading to the cold frontage of Canada just to set things straight, going from warm to cold.
I mean, right now, you gotta hope that the Jets have been cooled a little bit, right? You talk about the timeout, and honestly, timeouts are important. Like, we can talk about it in theoreticals, but I do genuinely think that what you mentioned, the fact that not only do Bliss Excelsior get a little bit of mental reset, but Kinaidos get a chance to kind of have their Jets cooled off. You don't want them to go in all heated up into the fray. Now, with that nice assessment of the strategies we have here, we have some more time to talk about these P's and B's too. Hopefully Bliss Excelsior have got a plan in mind.
I mean, if you're Bliss Excelsior, you're thinking of which characters have caused problems for the team. And I think one of it has just been, hey, we want to play a specific type of style. And, a certain character has not been banned yet that Fifi has been just raining terror on, right? You have the option of either banning that Genji or banning that Pharah. And if I am Bliss Excelsior, I want more time for Seraphim to set up and get value from those Ashe shots. So maybe taking out that Pharah might be the answer.
I guess the reasoning they might be hesitant to do, because I do agree that and indeed they agree too. Okay, I'm glad. I was thinking maybe the reasoning is just because it's a very map-dependent character, but I agree that the fact that Fifi is so threatening on it when it is being played, I don't care. If 50% of the maps are good for far, 50% are bad, I'm still trying to give myself a good time 100% of the time, and that means no frickin' Pharah in the troposphere raining down missiles on me. Now it's all going to be up to our friends on Kinaidos. What do they want to take away that's been a thorn in their side?
I mean, if I'm Kinaidos, you've been doing extremely well on characters. And so, I mean, like in these matchups, that it feels like at any point, any of these bans are more of just like for increasing odds or just putting Bliss Excelsior in like a tougher spot, something like forcing them to play out of like what might be a comfort of sorts. So already we've seen a couple of iterations from the side of Bliss Excelsior. They've played that Juno, they've played that Ana, they've played that Brig, and I think the Ana ban makes the most sense if you are EMC Kinaidos. I think when it comes to like the matchup, it seems like EMC doesn't find much of an issue in having to deal with a Brig. They have much more of an issue seeing that Ana and the antis just really forcing out maybe a Kiriko Suzu from Nuke.
Little family reunion here in the ban screen as both the Ana and Pharah will be taken off the map. Does leave us with the question of what does Fifi play? Probably Tracer, probably Genji, and honestly, still scary on both of them. I'm not gonna lie, man. I also wouldn't have minded seeing a Sojourn, because I think Sojourn's a bit more adaptable, can operate well on any map. But to be fair, on this push map, it could still be really scary to have to deal with a Pharah. There's a lot of open territory where you don't have that much cover to escape from the hellfire raining from above. So I'm not upset about it. I'm just upset that I have to see Alex just whip everyone down on the Sojourn again.
I mean, that's how it is, but I think that also just might be because of what who is playing for the team for Bliss Excelsior, because there is a substitution. Carlos coming in for Seraphim, so that means that maybe they're having their other DPS play that more hit scan kind of character, right? We did see for for a while that Larv was really just doing was playing that hit scan for a moment. So maybe that's what they want to lean into. And already we could see, oh my gosh, the Torbjorn's making an appearance. Look at that family reunion on the side of Bliss Excelsior.
Look at this, man. We see the light at the end of the tunnel. Kinaidos look to finally put to an end Bliss Excelsior's attempt to stand up to them. EMC Kinaidos have already done this once. They say, all right, you might have gotten us on one map. That's really cute and all, but we're still the big bads around here, and we intend to reign with an iron fist.
Well, this might be a bit of a struggle, is the fact that there's a Torbjorn turret that exists, and with no Pharah to constantly pepper damage onto it, this Echo isn't really as much of an effective use to melt down a turret, but hey, a railgun might do that, except Shilly's already gone.
From that railgun as well, it giveth, it taketh away. Alex is going to be able to dip back out. Carlos goes down as well as the turret. Connor makes quick work of it. Fifi then takes down Tarkin. Point quickly being secured up here by EMC Kinaidos. They do lose their tank in trade, but Alex is okay. I'm the tank, I'm the DPS, I am everything at once. I am entropy and death. Maybe I will meet it myself. Larv takes him down.
Maybe a bit overzealous, over-ambitious on being tank, support, and DPS all rolled into one. There is a
It's
reason.
tough.
There is a reason you cannot heal yourself on Sojourn until you stop taking damage. But Nepu has stayed alive throughout all of this, which is immensely great if you're Bliss Excelsior. But if you're Carlos, I need you to play your HP just a bit longer. But already you can see the ultimate charges building, and Connor and Nuke have just been doing a lot of work for EMC. EMC leading in the ult charge. But there is more to this story than anything else.
Larv being on the Sojourn, it's going to be really interesting. They've been performing so well on the Tracer, and now showing that they got the stuff up to snuff on this character as well. Takes down Shilly before the other support bops her right back. Fifi in the sky, trying to ensure their own safety. They're in the trees, they say, but no one believes them, no one can see him. Trying to beam down the Torbjorn, does achieve it as well. The overclock from Alex manages to find Tark as well. Bliss Excelsior on the back foot again.
I really need Ichi to switch off this break. I 100% feel like there's nothing really diving, and as a brig, you don't really survive through a Orisa as effectively, right? And I think the ability to brawl it out on brig is not as great if your Juno has to force pocket you 24/7 just to survive on Orisa. So EMC now have 3 ultimates to work with, and if you're Bliss, you probably have 4.5. And you should use one of these. Please use one of these.
Annihilation's a big one. The Duke comes down and Fifi drops in, takes the Sojourn aspect himself, but Terra Surge does all the work they need. Alex wipes away Nepu. It's a near team wipe. Now finishes off Ichi. Maybe consider switching back in the base.
How about we consider ulting first? Because it always feels like this. No, EMC is at the back foot for some of these ults, right? Bliss Excelsior had 5 walking into this. You need something other than overclock to at least ensure this overclock gets massive value, especially when you're expecting 2 or 3 other ultimates from EMC Kinaidos. This is what it always feels like watching this right now, is Bliss Excelsior just refuses to commit with an ultimate as if looking for the perfect opening for it when you just really need to go and use it, and already you're getting trades.
No. What a great boop there from Shilly to knock him down to low ground, but then we brought low instead at the mace. Ichi takes them out. Torbjorn dead too. Larv, though, has fallen. One of your best offensive forays now is dead in the water. Carlos got that molten core. Annihilation being brought forth as the Steel Fist gauntlets start to find Kiriko's skull. Nuke goes down. Connor as well. Fifi drained from the sky. Bliss Excelsior got control of the bot.
Thank you for finally using ults. And
Huge.
Also, huge, you're still holding 2. Also, Carlos, please move your turret. Why is it in spawn?
Oh, that's rough.
So,
Huge.
Bliss Excelsior at least have 2 ultimates. One of them being Molten Core, which is great for space denial. It makes this Orisa be less able to fight on a point, but already Fifi takes out Ichi.
Oh, the Molten Core comes down, but it's just a welcome mat for anyone who wants to try to step up at this point. Easily able to dive around it. Carlos, though, will gonna take down Connor, but Tark's dead too. Both the supports no longer in the fight. Turret taken away by Shilly. Fifi robs Carlos's life as well. Insult to injury. Alex goes down. Nuke falls, though, too. Now Lar's starting to perform, but Fifi's trying to do the exact same thing on the dupe. Manages to take down Larv using their own tools. That's just disrespectful. Nepu goes down for the 5-player kill streak.
Nah, that's just insanity. Fifi just switching over to this Sojourn dupe for just even a bit and gets immense value, forces out everyone else from Bliss Excelsior, and Bliss Excelsior now going back to this Diva composition, which honestly I don't think is actually not that bad of a choice, right? That DM can eat so many of these cooldowns, and sometimes that's what you need, and just deny the survivability. But you're hoping everyone else from this Excelsior carries their weight and does the damage in, especially when there's no ultimates to work with. You're still building towards that overclock, and EMC Kinaidos has 3 in the pocket. They could just open with one of these, like maybe this overclock from Alex or maybe a rush from Noob.
How's being bailed out there by the Suzu. An attempt to dive from Nepu. He's snuffed out. These turrets have not been finding impact. Despite not having that far, it does not matter. There's such great focus fire from EMC Kinaidos. The moment it comes up constructed, immediately disassembled. Here comes Kitsune as well as the overclock from both the Sojourns, and Larv gonna get the better hand and gets the first kill on top of Connor. Needs to stay safe though. Drop down to 50, forced to duck back into cover and try to keep alive. Fifi disassembles the turret once more. Bliss Excelsior putting up a fight, but can they get the bot in their control?
I mean, they managed to move it just a bit as Nepu dives in trying to get Chili, and this Diva swap has been immense, and even these picks from Larv, just Larv on this Sojourn has been doing so much work for the team that it makes me wonder if maybe should we manage to hit a map 6, can they play this maybe Ashe Sojourn kind of setup at the end of the day rather than what they've currently been playing, because maybe that might be immensely helpful. But they have to get through this first, and already they still have this rally, they still have this bomb, and I want Ichi to be proactive with this rally. I really think rally in its current state should never be used defensively unless you're expecting a Genji blade, and even then, right, you might as well just use it early. Like right now, you wish you had the extra overhealth to deal with this Terror Surge.
At the very least, only the turret's going to take the fall for it. Here comes the big bomb, though. Got to make sure you find an escape. Nuke, unfortunately, can't get back as they're going to be victim to the Diva ult. Nepu getting some good value there this time. Rally becomes the main focus of attention, and the Duke gets taken out there by Nepu, too. Now starting to nullify the ultimates. Now starting to make progress, too. Bliss Excelsior continue to push forward.
That's a great fight from this Excelsior, and only having to use technically one ultimate there with that.
Huge.
With that rally was immense along with the Diva bomb. That's what I want to see with this Excelsior. When you commit ultimates, commit it with at least like 2 as a pair at least. As a pair or as a trio, because sometimes one ultimate is just not enough, especially if you're walking into like what is 4 or 3. EMC Kinaidos still have this beat and are building towards an overclock. So I think we need to enable building towards this overclock if I am them. But there's an overextension from Carlos.
The stagger is so rough. The moment that Larv goes down, honestly, I would like to see them just completely wait to regroup when all 5 members had 10 toes ready to fight. Now instead it's Ichi going down alongside Carlos just because the Sojourn was there to back them up. What a great long-range spear! Olympic javelin thrower here, Connor, continuing to dispense damage up close and personal as far as long range too. Bliss Excelsior got 3 ultimates ready. They still need to get quite a bit of distance to even catch up to Kinaidos.
I think I need this molten core to be used and to deny space, and that's exactly what is already happening, opening up so much room for Larv to do immense amount of damage. That's a 3-piece to the head with a rail, and that's it. That Bliss Excelsior lining up, piecing things together. That you cannot be going into these fights with just one ultimate. You have to do it with 2. Whether that's both DPS all together, maybe 1 DPS with 1 support, or that's how it is. And EMC already with 3, so they're going to definitely aggress in either with a Terra Surge and comboed with a overclock, or something with maybe that beef, because Chili has been holding this beef since probably around the 5-minute mark.
Oh, here comes the overclock from Alex, trying to find some picks on the Diva before the bomb is ready. Orbital laser dropped in response. Larv goes down first, the Fifi beam. 1 minute still left on the clock to do your worst. Nepu dropped down to nearly 0. In fact, kicked out of the mech and kicked back to base. Ichi will fall too. Bliss Excelsior crumbling apart.
That's fine if you are. Oh no. Thank you. Tark has to die on point. Tark has to die on point with that one, and at least try to get a trade, because it's either that or force the fight on the bot to be closer to where the spawns are, so everyone else from Bliss Excelsior gets there in time. Yes, you have 45 seconds left on the clock. You are going to have 2 ultimates in this next fight. If you're EMC, you only have that copy, and you're hoping Fifi gets a really massive copy onto someone that's going to give immense value. Maybe another support like a Kiriko, or maybe that Juno is 1, right? Or you could at least try to copy that Diva for extra sustain, or maybe the Sojourn. One or the other, but already Alex is down by a turret!
Chili gets vengeance on the mechanical counterpart who did the deed, but it's not going to be enough to save Larv. In trouble, Echo recognizes that's their best offensive hope, but they'll fall instead. Both DPS now taken out, and a great chance for Excelsior to continue to push forward what very well may be the last fight. The schoolyard bullies are starting to fall one by one, sent to detention. Chili taking out. This turret is incredible. Quad piece by Torb.
Oh my gosh, if you are Bliss Excelsior, you're taking that and you're walking into this next fight with probably 2.5 ultimates. If you're EMC, you have to open up with one of these, whether that's that copy or whether that's rush and then follow up with the other. If you're Bliss Excelsior, rally. You need to rally early. You need this early sustain, especially when there's this rush on point and they're
Here
already
it comes!
Fury.
Got the dupe there from Fifi. Let's see what the railgun's capable of this time. Drops down, looking for Juno, separated from the rest of the team, but can't quite take him down. They're too slippery. Ichi gonna get beaten down once again, though. Rally wasn't enough to keep you alive. Unfortunately, a dupe wasn't enough to keep up for long enough to use that ultimate either. Carlos dispenses of it quickly. Sound barrier there from Chili. Keeps the rest of the team all up on top. Larv gets dropped. Terra Surge comes through, but Diva's able to escape. But the rest of the teams fall into shambles behind you. Bliss Excelsior, they did their best, but it's not enough. The Silver Spoons, the Rich Kids, the Big Bads, Kinaidos take finals.
Oh, great job for Kinaidos at the end of the day, working with what they had and really just going full in on with it. So great job for turning things around. But if there's one thing that this Excelsior can at least have with them to take away is that, hey, they did not end this matchup in like a 4-0 kind of fashion. No, they took a map, they took one, and that is definitely a better story than, you know, when they first played against EMC Kinaidos in that winners final, right? It went from a 3-0 now to a 4-1. That just means they have improved over time, which is unfortunately not just enough to turn things further around against EMC.
Steps forward, but unfortunately couldn't quite cross the finish line. EMC Kinaidos, a dominant team, moments of splendor from each side. I really want to throw so much credit to Larv there for just being such an offensive bastion of hope for Bliss Excelsior. So many amazing plays on Tracer and Sojourn across the entire game. Just wasn't quite enough, though, to get them to victory. Whereas EMC Kinaidos, man, they're 2 DPS. They're just monsters.
No, that is definitely what it is. Like, the DPS line of EMC are just as cracked and crazy as, you know, Larv on Bliss Excelsior. And sometimes you need that extra firepower. And EMC Kinaidos just had it along with, you know, their with their support line. Like, Chili was doing such impeccable work on that Lucio, denying any final blows and kills against, you know, Bliss Excelsior. So just great job to them. But that is the story of this, you know, CGL Season 15 Grandmaster Division. EMC Kinaidos just taking it all home in this EU division.
There are real villains, but they don't always get real justice is the big lesson of today. EMC Kinaidos continue their dominant streak amongst the bracket and wreak havoc up to the very top. Beautiful work overall. You can't fault them for it, man. They played that near pitch perfect. Bliss Excelsior, like someone said much earlier, what feels like a lifetime ago, they can feel proud and happy knowing they got up here, and they even managed to do a dent to the most dastardly team this side of CGL. So overall, I think both teams should be leaving feeling happy and proud of their performances, because honestly, it was some really good Overwatch play today.
Exactly. And, you know, just taking that quick review of the bans this whole game, you could already see just from that map 3 bans were just impactful for Bliss Excelsior, and that honestly helped them win it all in the end. But unfortunately, their bread and butter just really, you know, denied afterwards from map 4 and 5. EMC really doing the best they can to just deny Bliss Excelsior from getting any further value from what they have tried and practiced.
Yep, and with that, we've got no more games for you, but we still got an interview coming up for you later. So if you saw their plays, you want to hear their voices now too, don't you dare go anywhere. CGL interview with Kinaidos, our victors, right after this. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to CGL Season 15, the grand result of Grandmasters Grand Finals, with Kinaidos standing as our last ultimate victors. It's Dilo, it's Toriume as our casters to bring you the Masters, and we got some amazing, talented, beautiful players here before us on the stands in the interview booth. It's our friend Fifi, the terror of the skies, the prince of pigeons, and Nuke, the one to duke with them all. Back in that back line, our support pals. Guys, how we feel?
Yeah,
great.
Good, man.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. Well, guys, let me just talk about your bracket run. Y'all have been disgusting from day one. 3-0 sweep. 3-0 sweep once again. Was there ever a moment that you doubted yourself at all in the back of that one map you lost? Or is it just an instant like, nah, GG, go next. We're going to be creaming this one down in just a second.
No doubts. Not at all. At no points. That's it.
Is that during the whole season or just this one match?
I'm talking about this match.
The
When
map.
y'all were on the back of that map loss, you took few and then unfortunately got on the back burner there around that one push. What happened? What was the mentals? What were the comms after? It's just like, nah, we're good, or were you sweating a little bit there, Nuke?
I mean, they were fine. It's just like a stepping stone, really. Like, we fumbled one map, but you know, I know who I'm playing with. I know all their strengths, so I kind of knew that we'd have it in the bag for the next maps anyway.
Makes sense. Okay.
Honestly,
Very PR talk answer.
honestly, that makes complete sense. So, would that mean just we take a look at your bans for, you know, after that third map, were all these bans pretty much targeted at the fact that this seemed like what your opponents were just comfortable with?
I'm not gonna lie to you. I've completely forgotten what any of the thought processes behind the bans were.
It was
we're just
mainly
gonna
to stop like which backline they'd be playing. And then the Diva one was the target ban because obviously the one map we lost, they were on Diva.
No, that makes complete sense. But hey, the bans worked all in your favor at the end of the day. But you know, you won this ultimate grand finals, right? Managed to just set it in stone that you guys are the winners in this division. So what's the plan for the team, I guess, like moving forward now after you've won this specific, you know, tournament and division?
That is a good question. I don't know how to answer because there is no plans. It's like CC, I guess, but that's about it.
Take it as it comes.
Yep.
I respect that for sure. Real quick, I'm going to zoom out even further. I mean, y'all, like my friend Thor just said, the grand victors, the big bads, the top kahunas. What are you doing to celebrate tonight?
Nothing.
Sleep call with Colin Woman.
True gamer responses. All right, fair enough. Don't touch grass. Don't even need it. We got all of our accolades here online. Overall, guys, fantastic work so far. Should feel really proud of yourselves. Any shout outs or words of praise or thanks you want to give out to the people in the audience below? Coaches, teammates, anything?
Yeah. Carlos for subbing himself in on Torb, so that I could prove I'm not a one trick on Farah.
Fair. Anyone else?
Nope.
Nope.
Shout out
Shout out,
MCG.
shout out everyone.
Right?
Shout out everyone, man. Yeah. Shout out EMC.
Shout out
Is it only one
MCG.
something?
He put the team together like 6 hours after roster lock. Because like we fell
Very
apart.
true.
Procrastination sometimes is the sensation that grips the nation, but you guys certainly didn't delay that victory for any longer than it had to be. Once again, a hearty congratulations to you both as well as to your entire team. I wish you both best of fortunes and luck in your future CGL and Overwatch 2 endeavors, and with that, guys, we'll catch you on later. Hippity hop on out.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Wise words there from our very own, the very best of the rest to grace us here in CGL EU Grand Masters. With that, though, we're not quite done in terms of talking what other Overwatch stuff lingers in the near future. Schedule coming at you in just a moment. We can check out what more lies in just this very day. And now that we've gotten this match beneath us here, Thor, you looking forward to casting some more?
I mean, for those who are around, you will be seeing me yet again be casting this Cuddle Puddle versus Death Blossom match at 8 p.m. EST. That is going to be a winners finals match, I think, in the Diamond division, and that's going to settle who is entering grand finals and who gets tossed to the lower bracket. On the other hand, you do have Shubil Nation and Celestial Knights. I think this is a Masters division matchup on
Yes.
the lower bracket. So hey, that's one also to watch to see if your favorites between those two manage to make it, through the lower bracket.
I'm really looking forward to hearing about that match because Celestial Knights, I know, are really trying to take down SOS, who have already made it to grand finals as of last night. Shubil Nation, though, trying to deny them that season ticket stamp. We're to find out shortly if that ends up being the case. With that, one more Overwatch event on the horizon. We mentioned it once. We'll do it a segunda vez. Copa América está viniendo muy cercano el 10 y 6 de mayo. It's going to premiere, and we've got 3 languages being broadcasted in. You heard one of them just then, Spanish. You've heard us talking the entire time in English, and also a poco de Portuguese for those who get jiggy with some trilingual action. So our polyglots out there, plenty of content for you.
Exactly, and hey, that is one matchup not to miss out on, because that lets you see the talent in the other regions of this world. Yes, we are going global with this, but hey, besides that, that is pretty much for us in these EU matches for today. Next set of matches are going to be in that NA time slot later on today. But any final words, Dilo?
Yeah, I mean, just thank you all very much for watching. It's been Dilo, it's been Thor. We've had our amazing broadcast crew, Headrammer, Skyla. We've had Orange. We've had everyone backing us up here. Almighty Eyes in the Sky. Please thank our production team for all they do. We could not yell at games without them. And last, but certainly not least, thank you, loyal, obedient viewer, for your time. We hope you've enjoyed this series just as much as we have. Keep an eye to the sky for more CGL content coming at you today. Until then, good games and good night.